Today I'm making a double chocolate tiramisu. If you were from Italy and you were a food purist, you would say that there isn't such thing as a chocolate tiramisu, because tiramisu traditionally is made with coffee and there is a specific recipe. I tend to disagree. I think that variants are okay in most recipes. Obviously, I cannot call this a lasagna because it's a tiramisu, but sometimes people get a little bit hung up about these things and occasionally also very rude. Likely not on my channel, but I think that as long as food is cooked properly in terms of with passion and with love and it tastes fine, it doesn't really matter what you call it. So I've made a start and I've got here some cocoa powder, which actually is a bitter one, and I mixed it with some warm milk and then I added a little bit more milk to cold milk to cool it down, and this is ready. I'll give you the quantities in the description as always, but also you can use the hot chocolate powder. This is what you might have before you go to bed. This is sweetened, whereas the cocoa powder I've used is bitter. And I want to be as close as possible to the original recipe. The only thing I will be doing is replacing the coffee with chocolate. And because this is bitter and coffee tend to be bitter when you're making normal tiramisu, I'm a little bit more aligned. But if you fancied a little bit more of a sweeter taste, considerably sweeter taste, this would be obviously a good choice. However, be careful because we will be adding sugar, we will be adding other chocolate eventually, and it could end up being too sweet. So I'll put this on one side to cool down further, as it will need to be colder when I mix it with my biscuits, and I'll crack on with some of the other ingredients. Eggs next, and as I want to make this accessible to as many people as possible, I will be pasteurizing them today. And I'm separating now the white from the yolk. The yolk is what I will be using, but I will be using the white for a different recipe I've got in mind. You will see that on the channel as and when. Now I'm making a fairly large batch as the family is coming round tomorrow. But you can reduce the ingredients proportionally, and that works beautifully. So you can reduce everything by half, for example, if you want to make a half, and everything is proportional. So 6 eggs is what I start with. I mentioned sugar earlier, and that is what is coming next. So my general rule when I make tiramisu is to use one set spoon of sugar per egg. So that's number 3, 4, 5, and 6. Whisk and I'll mix it together. So to which category do you belong? Are you a food purist, or are you a bit more I don't really care, or anywhere in the middle? I am in the I do not really care sort of category, as long as food tastes fine. Hot water, I just boil the kettle, I'll turn the hob on higher, and I'll place my egg inside the bowl on top of the pan here. And this is called bain-marie, by the way. It's a way of pasteurizing the eggs, and you do not have to pasteurize them if you are comfortable, or if you are all strong and young. But if you're cooking and you're doing something for children or the elderly, I would recommend that you do pasteurize them, and you get that peace of mind also. So this won't take very long, but before I forget, I'm going to add a little vanilla extract. Entirely up to you if you do not like vanilla, but if you do, add it. It adds extra flavor and sweetness. So I'll mix this together and I'll turn the temperature up. And the idea is that I do not cook the egg, I pasteurize them. And I'll carry on mixing, and this will take about 5-6 minutes, and you will see that in a little while the volume of the egg will increase, but also the color will change into a much paler color. And that is the signal that they've been pasteurized. And there you go, look, you can see steam coming out from the side, the temperature is medium high, and by the way, I meant to say, ensure that the top of your water does not actually touch the bottom of your bowl, otherwise you will end up cooking the eggs. So another couple of minutes and this will be done. I am multitasking and I'm eating my breakfast at the same time, but these are done, look. The color has changed, much paler, and I can remove them from the heat. I'll turn this off, and I'll put them aside to cool down. And I can move on to my other ingredients. This is fresh double cream, straight from the fridge. Important that actually it's very cold double cream. And I'm now adding a little bit more vanilla extract for additional sweetness. And I'll mix it together until it becomes lovely and soft. So remember, lovely and soft, not hard, otherwise you'll turn into batter. Something like this is absolutely perfect. And if you're making a tiramisu and you're following Italian traditions, you need to use mascarpone. So here it is. I'll add straight to my double cream. Ironically, when I came to the UK over 30 years ago, and I tried to make a tiramisu, I couldn't find any mascarpone. Back then it wasn't sold in UK supermarkets. So I used to adapt it and make it just by using double cream, but I would use more double cream. So if you cannot find mascarpone where you live, you can always use more fresh double cream. And yes, you can still call it a tiramisu. I will not have any problems with that. And I'm mixing it together now with the cream using a spatula rather than the food mixer. So my pasteurized eggs have cooled down enough for them not to cook everything, so I can add them to the rest. And if, like me, you got one of those rubber spatulas, they're ideal to ensure that you scrape everything. And I'm mixing everything together once again, either using the spatula or the whisk, whatever you've got handy, but doing sure that you mix it well so that all of the lumps disappear. And before you start putting your tiramisu together, doing sure that you taste this quickly, and mostly for sugar, because it's important that it's to your liking. Mine is perfect, and the vanilla is absolutely wonderful. And of course, if you like it to be sweeter, you can still add a little bit more sugar now and mix it together. If you don't want it to be too sweet, especially as these are covered in sugar, put less sugar at the beginning. Maybe you can add 4 teaspoons instead of 6, and then you can add them later. Entirely up to you how you wish to regulate it. But mine is absolutely perfect, especially because I've added the vanilla. And out there come the sponge fingers, or savoiardi as they are called in Italian. And as I mentioned before, these are typical Italian biscuits. And one side is covered in sugar, the other one isn't, and they're really, really light. If you cannot get hold of sponge fingers, you can always substitute them with normal sponge. You can make your own sponge if you like, or you can just buy it from the supermarket. They will be also very good. I've done it in the past, but here in the UK they are widely available now, so obviously I'm using sponge fingers. And this is very easy and very straightforward. Hopefully you can see on the camera over there. So I'm just dipping them in my chocolate milk, and I'm going to be lining them up, and I'll make the first layer of the base. And I said before that I was going to be making them a little bit wetter than normal, so I'm turning them around so that they absorb a good amount of my cocoa and milk, and away I go. So my first layer, the base, is finished, and as you might have guessed, I can add my very first layer of cream. And I do ensure that I am quite generous and I cover the entire surface of all of my biscuits, but not to go mad, as this will have to set in the fridge, and clearly I want to make sure that it does set, but I think it's enough. Normally the top of a traditional tiramisu has got a dusting of cocoa at the very top. Today I'm going to be different, as I've got a different idea and vision for the top of my double chocolate tiramisu. So I'm applying a dusting of cocoa in the middle. So entirely up to you. You can skip this if you want, but it is a double chocolate tiramisu, so let's make it very chocolatey. And off I go again with my second layer of sponge fingers. And I don't know if there is a rule or not, but some people tend to lay them the opposite direction to the first layer. I don't think it matters too much, because at the end of the day they're gonna go soft, but I'm leaving them at the moment in the same direction as the first layer. Also, my little dish here, it tends to go up on the sides, so I'm now adding a few more at the edges so that I can fill the gaps. And you can break them very easily, by the way, as you might have already spotted. So by all means, you do what it takes to ensure that everything is covered by biscuits. And I'll cover the entire surface once again with my cream. I will have some left, which is not a bad thing, as I can make a little one for Julie and I for tonight, as this is for tomorrow. So whilst the tiramisu starts setting, I'll share with you my vision for the very top. This is a bar of hazelnut dark chocolate, and I've got a little bit of my milk and chocolate powder left in there. So I'm going to place my chocolate inside the saucepan. I've got it on at the moment, of course, and I'll wait until it starts melting. Of course you can use any type of chocolate, milk chocolate or cooking chocolate, but when I was at the supermarket yesterday, I was particularly attracted by the size of the hazelnuts, and I thought actually they would look really nice on top. But keep the temperature on a medium, minus on number 6 at the moment, and you will see that in no time at all it will melt. Make sure that you do not overheat it. Actually, I will remove it now, because chocolate will burn very easily, and you can see that has thickened up. It's got a beautiful consistency. This next step is more presentational rather than taste, of course, so you will have to bear with me if I end up making a mess, but I'll try my best. And using a spoon, I'm now applying the chocolate on top of my tiramisu. Hopefully this will give me the opportunity to apply equally. Oh, hot. Ouch. Oops, I put it back in there. Well, that wasn't very clever. Don't do that. Anyway, here is all of my chocolate, and I can go in. Using a spatula, I'll try and distribute it so that it gives me a little bit of a authentic and rustic look. I'll go both ways. And of course you can play with it as much as you like, depending on what you want it to look like, but I'm happy that it's okay. So I'll place it in the fridge. If you want to eat it on the day you're making it, give it a good 2 to 3 hours depending on the size. Something like this most probably will need 3 to 4 hours. If it's smaller, half the size for example, a couple hours will be enough. Mine will stay in the fridge overnight, and it will really set, and tomorrow will be ready. So I'll see you tomorrow once it's out of the fridge, and I'll take a slice out, and hopefully it will look good. So see you tomorrow. Ciao ciao for now. And there we are, 24 hours later, exactly 24 hours, and I'm ready to slice it and show you what it looks like, and hopefully test a bit before everybody gets here. So let's cut a nice slice. Well, it seems to have a nice consistency, so it sounds promising. Hopefully I'll be able to get up a nice looking slice.
I'm old school where I'm not so worried about what it looks like, it's what it tastes like. But...
Absolutely, always the most important thing. So here it is, look.
Mm. Yum.
And if I show you the inside now, it looks pretty good actually. I'm very pleased. You got the different layers of chocolate, and Julie asked me, what are those round things earlier when she saw the cake? She hasn't seen it yet.
I guess they were the nuts.
The nuts, yeah, the hazelnuts. So all I've got to do is taste it now. Let's just try a little here, and hopefully nobody will notice. Oh, got a nut as well. Oh, it's beautiful. It's very rich, very decadent. Is that the right word, Julie?
Right word, yeah.
And the hazelnuts, if you can find chocolate with the hazelnuts, actually adds a nice texture and flavor also. I'm very pleased, and I think you should make it. And if you do, I think you need to let me know. Anyway, let it rest at least 2 to 3 hours, depending on the size you're making. Smaller one, if you make a bigger one, 6 hours, or overnight, even better. You can see this is actually beautifully set. Arrivederci, grazie, and buon appetito. Ciao.